Hello, how's it going? I got something to show me. We doing it up. We take it down the cup. Let's talk about sex. What up, guys? So today we will be discussing the sex chakra. I will be using Master Chokoksui, the chakra, and their functions to help elaborate and explain the functions of these energy centers in our body. Okay, so in this video, we will discuss the spiritual functions of this energy center. We'll discuss the actual psychological functions of this chakra, as well as the physiological, the physical, actually body functions of the chakra as well. Okay, so the sex chakra, it is located in the pubic area. It is the center of a foundation for creation and pretty much all of the physical world. This is the type of energy that births worlds and people and everything that you see before you into existence. So the same energy that is responsible for bringing you into this world is responsible for bringing, if you have children of your own into this world, that was a major part and factor of it, is what pretty much generates from this energy center of our body. So the sex chakra has 6 petals, at least this is what it has clairvoyantly been revealed to have, 6 petals, and it has 2 different shades of color, being red and orange. Let's get into the spiritual functions of the sex chakra, this particular energy center. All right, so just right off the base, spiritual functions and all. A strong and healthy sex chakra is actually very much needed on a spiritual journey and for your own spiritual development. What do you mean? What? Like, so should I be going out and about and, hitting them streets? No, please don't do that. Unless that's what you want to do. There's also no judgment here. However, what my teacher, and from what I can gather, means from this is that the sex chakra is sort of like, how does he put it? It's food for the upper chakras. Upper chakras being like the ones, your heart chakra, your throat chakra, your crown chakra, the ajna chakra, which is like the executive for all of these chakras and energy centers in our body. Interesting enough. The reason being like that the sex chakra is food for the upper chakras, it's because the energy, sexual energy, can be transmuted. Funny enough, there's actually a exercise, it's like called super brain yoga, that my teacher, Master Choa Koksui, came up with, and it's the practice of taking the energy that is in the sex chakra, and you are working along with the throat chakra, which is pretty much the higher level of information, knowledge, right? So these two work together, and what it does, it helps to transmute this energy, these lower energies, to feed this energy, and it kind of creates like this clearing of all of the cloud and fog that may have been like in your brain. It's a pretty cool, interesting technique and practice, and it's very simple. I may actually do a demonstration at the end of this or put it for another video. The sex chakra is also responsible for the proper functioning of the brain and the nervous system. So part of the body also uses the sex energy in our body to kind of be compartmentalized into our like creative, intelligent, and other spiritual functions, as I'm talking about right now. So one thing to really emphasize about this, regardless like of if you're celibate or if you have more of a lax, sort of approach and attitude towards sex, what's really emphasized is that you need to find a way to transmute this energy. Don't suppress the energy. My teacher, he mentions having a healthy attitude towards sex. So you don't have to be like this complete and total celibate, person, unless that's what you want to do, which is fine. However, just know that sexual energy is going to be there. And if with proper like practices and understanding of like the fact that we do all generate this energy of creation, essentially, we can transmute it, and like I mentioned earlier, use it as food for the upper chakra. So taking these lower energies, and when I say higher or lower energies, is not necessarily like I'm not looking at it as a form of like a hierarchy or this is better than or less than. It's just like objectively, this is the lower version, like the lower vibration of energy, versus there's the upper chakras, which is more of a higher vibration of energy. So with this energy, like from that generates from the sex chakra, you can move that, transmute that, move that up towards, for instance, like your heart chakra, to radiate more like love and kindness. That's one thing that when I practice Arhatic yoga, Master Choa Kok Sui Arhatic yoga, one of the things that we learned how to do was proper sexual transmutation. Man, like sky's the limit when it comes to this. You can use that energy with your throat chakra hand in hand, which I'll go into more detail when I get to the throat chakra video. But when you do certain sexual transmutation like practices and exercises, one of them that I've learned called Superbrain Yoga, it's when the sacral, sex chakra, and the throat chakra both go hand in hand. And because throat chakra is more of the higher, and like I said, doesn't mean less than or more than, but it's just more in the sense that this is the higher version of intelligence, the higher vibration of intelligence. So when you use this creation energy that radiates from the sex chakra or sacral chakra, along with the throat chakra, which is of intelligence, it's like it concretizes things, right? Like our voice, we speak things into existence, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, when these two lower and higher vibrations now work together, you are also able to really unlock some creative ideas. Like this is the type of energy that you would see artists, sort of using. Like this is, they may not even consciously be aware, but like anyone who, when you're doing, you're composing something, when you're writing something, singing something, performing something, dancing something, some form, way, or shape, you are utilizing definitely these two energy centers, your sacral and your throat chakra. So anyway, you can use this energy, transmute it, and also even crown chakra, like it, like the possibilities are. So in summary of these spiritual functions of the sex chakra, a strong and healthy sex chakra is needed for spiritual development. But not just that, though. We also need to make sure that we have a wholesome and balanced attitude when it comes to sex in general, because that does also affect and weigh on how this energy is manifested. If one suppresses it, it could like lead to psychological ailments and diseases to also form, which I will get more into as we talk about the psychological aspects and functions of the sex chakra. But yeah, so practicing transmutation, also just a good healthy attitude about it, because whether you are doing it in terms of intimacy and those nature, essentially we need this energy to transmute it for our brain health, our nervous system health, as well as using it to create things and to bring forth, certain creations into this reality. Okay, so now let's talk about the psychological functions of the sex chakra. Okay, so the sex chakra is the center of sexual instinct. And people with like strong sex chakras usually have stronger sexual drives. Um, as I mentioned earlier on, the throat chakra, this is the center for high creativity, right? Higher creativity, as I should say. I forget what, I believe the sex chakra is the center of lower creativity, right? Which, like I mentioned before, higher and lower doesn't mean anything's better or less than. It's just you have the primal energetic component of the sex chakra that is responsible for helping to bring forth, things into this physical realm. And you have the higher creativity aspect, that is our throat chakra, that helps to concretize these things, to help make it make sense, I guess you can say. Like, when you hear something beautifully composed on a piano, right? And you hear the intricacies of like the notes, the different notes that the person's using and playing or whatnot. That is throat chakra in action. That is throat and sex chakra in action, because you have the sex chakra actually bringing in this, energy forth. And then you have the throat chakra that's actually concretizing that into what is music, like the actual notes. Like this is C note, this is a minor note, major note, yada, yada, yada. That's throat chakra right there, actually defining how the sound, is coming out, like actually creating music out of it. It's no longer just, like raw noise at this point. But nothing too different than kind of what I've already sort of mentioned in the whole spiritual functions of it all. Psychologically, sex chakra, it is, it does like help our brain health, as I mentioned, our nervous system. So psychologically speaking, when these two aspects come together, which normally they're kind of very closely interconnected, that's how we create things. So you use both of these type functions. And yeah, so psychologically, it's pretty much, it helps us to create things. It helps us to bring things into fruition. It helps, like when you have like those ideas, that's partly, if not dominantly, your sex chakra coming into play. Also, fun fact, and this is, if you know anything about chords, right? Like, so technically we have these invisible psychic attachments. When you are in a relationship with someone, any type of relationship, friendship, parent, a kid relationship, an actual romantic relationship, business relationship, whatever, we create these attachments, these invisible attachments, psychic attachments. I like to call them chords. But funny enough, not really funny maybe, but sometimes, like, let's say, a lot of healers, I will say, kind of deal with this. I think a lot of people, especially like, and I'm not just saying like energetic healers, like, I mean, like therapists, massage therapists as well, like, people who interact with other people regularly. And sometimes, even like you can even look at this as like a celebrity standpoint. Sometimes when all of a sudden you feel, let's say, like an attraction towards you that kind of in a sense stemmed from nowhere, technically sometimes that is someone's, what chakra, okay, we're grown, sex chakra, actually plugging into yours. Like their desire is kind of touching yours. So sometimes people may even think like, I wasn't even thinking about so and so like that, but all of a sudden I just kind of started getting these feelings. They may not even be your feelings, they may be the other person's feelings towards you. So I just kind of found that to be an whole interesting school of thought. I will, I think later down the line, come up with out with a video. It's about chords, like these invisible psychic connections that we have with the people in our lives. And also like certain ways and hygienes that you could do and practices to help clean and keep those lines of connections like clear. Because sometimes, you know, these connections that we do have with other people, things happen, you know, like life, it gets complicated. Even if it's not complicated, things will happen. You start to create like certain buildups, like between you. Like all of a sudden, you may feel like, oh, you know, like we used to be like this, and then I started to feel more of a separation. Sometimes that has more to do with just certain things sort of just building up energetically over time that just wasn't either resolved or could have just, I don't know, just, yeah, like was like repressed. And these things, they kind of build and it gets dirty. So I'm thinking of maybe coming out with another video on how to clean those lines, as well as how to just properly cut certain cords and connections. But in a nutshell, to summarize, that is the psychological functions of the sex chakra. It is the center of our sexual instincts, and it's a link to our sexual drive. And to also emphasize, like, I can't stress this enough. It's important that we have a healthy, balanced attitude, wholesome attitude when it comes to sex. In general, and just what that, I think essentially what it is on an energetic level, like not just necessarily the intimate part sometimes when you share with other people, like, you know, when you have relations and whatnot, but overall understanding that this is creation energy. It is also definitely necessary for our spiritual development and growth. And if it weren't for this energy, none of us would be here right now. Last but not least, let's talk about the physiological, I want to say this word, physical functions of the sex chakra. So psychologically, we discussed that the sex chakra is the center of sexual instinct. Okay, we got that. Physically speaking, it is the creative center of procreation, controlling the sex organs like the bladder, urethra, influencing our legs, our throats, as we've mentioned, our head, urinary problems, impotency, sterility, and enlarged prostate glands. I'm looking at my notes, don't mind me. Are just some of the conditions that can result of a malfunctioning sex chakra. So maintaining a healthy sex chakra is essential for the health of the throat and mental faculties, because like remember I said before, it charges like your brain. It helps regulate and function your nervous system and all that good stuff. So that could, you know, like when that's depleted, congested, or in a way kind of out of whack, these things can get affected. As well as, so the throat chakra and the mental faculty, so especially individuals with, my teacher mentions like mental retardation. So the super brain yoga activity or exercise that one can do, my teacher, Master Cho Koksui, actually used to go to these different elementary schools, and he would go to the classes with children who had, you know, special needs. And they would, you know, he was given permission, of course. He wasn't just, you know, just going into schools, but he was given permission. Him and some of his other disciples and students would go. And what they would do with the classes and these kids with the special needs is they would do this exercise. And what would happen is it was amazing. There's actually like a whole news story on it. I think it was like on KCAL 5-9. I don't know. I have to try to find it. Maybe like a quick YouTube search or something. But yeah, I guess like the results, it was just mind-boggling, because part of the reason is just due for like the mental retardation and some of the mental challenges that some of these kids were kind of navigating through, was due to a depleted sexual chakra, and it wasn't working hand in hand with the throat chakra. And I know it sounds like a sus topic, but I'm really specifically talking about it energetically speaking. So it's solely energetically speaking. So anyway, with the super brain yoga exercise, which I may just do like a little demonstration. I'll show you right now. Okay, so here is a quick demonstration of super brain yoga, and you can do this pretty much daily. I would advise women during your cycle to avoid it during that time. It's just that during that time, our sex chakra is actually expelling gray and dead, dirty energy. So you don't want to bring that up here. So just during that time. But anyway, what you would do is you would take your left hand, right? And you would grab your right earlobe, and you want to make sure that your thumb is facing outward. All right, so this is how it looks. Thumb's facing outward. Okay, then you take your right hand and you would put that over your left earlobe. And I believe you want to make sure that your right arm is out first, right? And then I needed to back up the camera. Anyway, so what you would do is you would go down. So you want to do this in increments of 7. So you either do 7, 14, or 21. No more than 21, okay? But you want to make sure that it's in increments of 7. And when you go down, right, you're going to squat. So as you go down, you want to inhale, right? So you're going, and then exhaling on your way up. Another factor I failed to mention just now, you want to make sure you're facing east. Is it east? We're going to say for the sake of this demonstration, I am facing east. But yeah, essentially, so you do this in increments of 7, just as I demonstrated before. So 2, all right, and that was me transmuting energy. And already I feel like a little bit more clear. I should have did this before I even started the video, but it helped kind of energize my brain, as well as kind of like cleared out some gunk that was kind of sitting there. So yeah, I would recommend and encourage anyone who may be watching this, if you can, do a little super brain yoga, you know, like that's just like a simple way of just really charging your brain for one, clearing out just like dead gray gunk, energetically speaking, and as well as really like transmuting the sexual energy into something that could be used for, you know, creative endeavors, intelligently, you know, like it doesn't even have to also just be like creative endeavors like painting or singing or anything like that. You can use this like if you want to like take a test, if you want to, you know, like pass in school, and things where you have to like use your thinking faculties, your brain. That is some of the other physical functions of the sex chakra. And I said it before, I said it again, and I may say it again before I turn this video off, it is important to have a wholesome, healthy attitude when it comes to sex, regardless if you're celibate or not, if you abstain. Just always keep in mind that even though I may not be doing the do, it's still fine. I still have this reserve of creation energy. So I guess not even look at it like sexually, like more so look at it in a way where it's like, this is creation energy that I've been blessed with, that we've all been blessed with by the creator. And I guess if anything, it's like an extension of God, of the creator, to give us this innate ability and force within us, like this powerful force within us to bring forth things, to create things, to really to really change things in our lives for ourselves, for the people that we care about and our loved ones, like you name it, to bring about change in the world. So yeah, like don't ever underestimate you, and don't underestimate the capacity of energy that you may have there, because um it could result to like I mentioned kind of before, like a malfunctioning sacral sex chakra could result in urinary type problems and impotency and sterility, enlarged prostate glands, other forms of sexual ailments, unfortunately. That's why sometimes when you see, like for instance, like maybe older elderly men who may not have made, like, you know, a regular practice. I mean, like, it's not as if this is like people are going out in the world like, I must regulate my sex chakra. I don't think anyone's really thinking about this unless you're like literally looking for this type of information. But if you see like a lot of older men with depleted or congested chakras, sometimes, you know, they're senile. It's kind of like the same thing as I mentioned with our basic chakra, our root chakra. If you don't use that, it can result in like rheumatoid arthritis. It can result in, you know, like osteoarthritis. It can result in muscular type problems. It can result in heart ailments and problems. Like, we need to really understand that these things, though it sounds like kind of woo-woo and frou-frou and thought, it's a very real, tangible thing, like what it can do in our lives and how these things can impact our lives if we aren't mindful and aware. And I'm not even saying like you have to be aware of this like specific information, or you have to like know all the spiritual texts and stuff, because people are practicing and doing this and regulating themselves without even opening a book on, you know, even so much as the law of attraction. Like, people are like living their lives without this understanding, but on some intuitive, like instinctual level, they have worked something out to where they are able to access this thing regardless of them knowing what it actually is that they're accessing or not. So that's why I'm saying, you know, with like, you have to understand, like, I think our emotional, spiritual health is as important as our physical health too, which is very important. But these things are a composite of one another. These things, what affects one will affect the other. So I think that's why it's so important to find like that balance between like really finding what it is like to spiritually develop yourself. Like I said, regardless of what denomination, faith that you're on, make sure that you are doing it, please. As well as making sure you're taking care of your mental health as well as your physical health, as like all of these things need to be taken into account. And because the dropping of the ball of one will affect all of them in the long run. And whether you feel it or not now, that stuff will catch up with you. It's the same thing with this sex chakra. If you suppress and repress all that energy and you have like this really negative attitude, and which on some occasions, I think it's perfectly understandable to have a negative attitude, like especially if you're someone who experienced, like, who was like violated, that could definitely really, you know, have some psychological impact in terms of how you view this, like, oh my good, you know, like I was violated. But under even that pain and that trauma, to know that at the end of the day, this isn't just what limited and reduced to just like an act. This is a creation energy. This is an extension of my creator, a gift from my creator, that is now inborn within me. Like, he's given me, like, the God has given me some of the capacity to create things in my own personal life and in an ecosystem in a sense, as well as everyone else on this planet. So I just suggest that you definitely remember that and take that into account. Of, you are a very powerful being. It's just a matter of learning the mechanics. It's like, I kind of like to think of it like any kind of machinery. Like, I feel like we're all like this really sophisticated, maybe not sophisticated according to some, but sophisticated pieces of like just machinery in terms, it's just like the more you know about that piece of machinery, whether like if it's like a cool car, appliance, or something, it's just like the more power you kind of like have, like, oh, I can use this. Oh, I didn't know that this computer did this. I could do this. Like, we're also like that though. Like, we have all these like interesting, cool, like things that are like operating within all of us in our physical body and other subtle bodies. And with the understanding of how to like use this and manipulate these certain things, we can like create, I mean, we can just create like just some massive powerful stuff. I mean, if you look at some of the people who have done that, even good or bad, like good or bad, like whatever the case may be, some way they tapped into something. They tapped into an understanding of how to access certain things and capacities and faculties within us, and they utilized it. So I say, like, let's all do that. Let's all like kind of what do you call that? Like hack ourselves into really understanding like the capacity and the strength that we really all have. So that's it on my whole spiel and take on sex chakra, as well as me paraphrasing pretty much everything that my teacher had taught me, Master Choa Kok Sui. Thank you very much. Please join me next week where we will be talking about the navel chakra. All right. Have a good one, you guys.